Welcome, everybody, to episode 311. For those listening live, you know what's going on. For those that weren't, my name is Ken. Thank you so much for joining us. Let's go around real quick and see what everybody is drinking, starting with Dan. Dan, what do you got?
Yo, I've got a homebrew Scottish export. I'm still waiting to carb up because I forgot to connect the tank to it before I left for Texas. And then I've got a carry your own bags porter from Broken Boundary.
Nicholas, what do you got?
I got a True Light. That's what I'm starting with right now. And I got a Imperial IPA 90 minute from Dogfish Head on Deck.
Wendy, what about you?
I am, of course, drinking a Trogs Mad Elf, and courtesy of a fresh box from Tavor, I found on my porch this week a Casa Agria Western Glow Hazy IPA. If you are looking to try out Tavor, go to tavor.com and use the code BETTERONDRAFT for a 10% discount.
Now, if you're looking at your screen, you might be wondering why we haven't introduced our last host. That's because today he is not a host, as he is going to be making his way off this show in a couple more episodes. Rob will be our guest tonight for episode 311. Robear, the Sporkle Extraordinaire. What are you drinking?
I love that rhyme right there. That is amazing. I am drinking. I have a negative Godfather. Basically, it's a non-alcoholic Godfather, which is basically a mix of the NA Spiritless Kentucky 74 and a non-alcoholic amaretto called Amaretti from Liars or Leaders. One of those two. That's what it is.
Now, for those that can't hear, obviously I am sick, so you won't be hearing too much from me this episode. But with that in mind, Rob, my very first question to you before I pass it over to Dan, because I want to get your thoughts. 7 years ago, almost to the day, you joined the show for a first ever episode in which there was no other guest. You kind of just came in, you chatted with us. What was your thoughts coming into that episode, and what did you think afterwards when we invited you to come back on full time?
Oh boy. I kind of thought going into it that I had absolutely no idea what the hell I was even doing. I didn't feel like I had much of a business to be behind a microphone, never mind, not having any of the experience to just, be in that setting and just kind of, it took a minute to just kind of really understand everything going on, but to just sit there and just kind of have a conversation about beer. I think it's a lot of the same feelings that our guests have. Once we're done with the show, some of our guests will be on and just kind of think that, this is going to essentially be another episode of 60 minutes, but craft beer. And then after the show is over, it's just wow, that was a whole lot of fun, and that was easy to do. And that was kind of the feeling that I had afterwards when it was done. But I was kind of just looking at it as just kind of being a one-off thing that just kind of show up, and then you invite me to come back to be a host, and I was just wait, what? What? And I just remember just going home and just being super excited to just tell my wife and tell Dina that it's yeah, they invited me to be on the shows. And I remember I just asked, I was you think I should do it? And she's she didn't even hesitate. She's hell yes, you should do it. Why are you even asking? Go do it. And it's been an amazing ride. It's been a hell of a lot of fun. It's definitely something I'm going to miss. But it's just been awesome. And I really thank you. I thank all of you for just kind of bringing me on the ride here and kind of getting further into craft beer and just digging into, the guests and the interviews and the occasional Facebook, Instagram stalking that I end up doing on these guests that kind of freak them the hell out whenever I ask a question.
Now, Rob, I got to ask you, did you think we'd still be sitting here 7 years later doing this? Because honestly, when you came in, the show, it was a shit show. Um, I don't know how else to explain it. We drank way too much. It was just kind of a giant mess when we were doing everything. Did you think, I mean, it's 2000, can't even talk 2023. You think we'd still be doing this today when you first came on?
Not really. No. I mean, I didn't, and it wasn't even like a feeling of thinking that there was anything wrong with the show. It was, for me, I was at such a novice that I didn't know what a good show versus a bad show looked like. It just looked like this is something that, we can have fun with and, have people on and just talk beer. And, it's definitely, compared to where it was 7 years ago, it definitely has grown. And I think it's just absolutely awesome that, we have this community where, people are listening to the show. We've got, brewers and breweries that are listening to the show and enjoying the hell out of it. So I think as I started to see a lot of the people that just really started enjoying it and just even going to a beer fest and just I remember having like this one freak out moment where I was going at the summer beer fest and I'm going to the tent buying a shirt and just was, talking, asking about the shirts and what size do they come in, and just some random guy who's in there. He's just like, nice pick, Robear. And I'm just like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah, it's kind of amazing how that happens.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what's your most favorite thing you got to do because of the show since you've been on?
Oh, most favorite.
Whether it be an event, yeah, I guess it's kind of broad, but what's your favorite, I guess, thing that's happened since you've been a part of the show?
Like I've loved going to the festivals and just, getting to meet a lot of the, the craft beer community and just going from brewery to brewery. And then, especially with the guests that we've already had on to, just kind of catch up and do all of that stuff. I would probably say like my favorite moments were just always whenever it went off the rails. Like whenever it went off the rails. Now, obviously, we could get back to it, but whenever it went off the rails, a lot of it I will probably say is my own fault, because I tend to feel like I have this this weird like level 2 Robin Williams improvisational brain of mine that just throws shit out there for no good ass reason, and it just sometimes just starts shit. But I just like, I love just like the random moments where just like, some shit goes down, which just leaves us on the floor just laughing and crying. Especially, there's a few of those, those Matt Bush moments that I would say, one moment of triumph that I definitely had was when he bet me $20 to drink that can of Four Loko. And like, without even thinking about it, like I just did it. It tasted horrible. And I believe I said on that episode that it tasted like regret. And he bet me $20 to drink it. And I'm like, well, okay. Like, for some reason, it's like I didn't even wait for him to put it on the table as proof. I just did it.
It's funny you mentioned that. You weren't here for the last episode, and we were talking about the alcoholic versions of Monster that are out there now. They actually just started selling them here yesterday. I saw a store start posting about it. I wanted to have a blind taste test between that and the Four Loko to see if you can tell the difference or which one you like better. I thought it would be a great idea. It's too bad we couldn't get any of that here for you today. Kind of leads me to my next question. Is there a style, or are there styles of beer that you now enjoy that you found out or tried because of doing this? I know there are several for me, so I'm curious if you were already in on a lot of the things you already like, or if there are new beers that you drink now because of, or styles of beer because of the show.
It starts with sours. For sure, sours were a style that I really did not care for. I just thought it was like sticking 20 full-size lemon heads in your mouth and just having them all just break, and you have nothing but that sour ass powder and no sweet. Like I couldn't really get into those and enjoy those. And I remember it was one of the Winter Beer Fest. I want to say it was Winter Beer Fest, maybe 2019, maybe 2018, where I pretty much had told myself, all I'm going to do when I go out here is I'm going to drink sours. I'm going to find a sour that I like. Now, I did actually start that off by going to Drafting Table and getting a Mean Vanilla Bean at like 13%. But I said, all right, I'm going to have my one stout, and then I'm just going to have sour. So I went all through it. I went through speciation. I went through
was that
Brie Vivant.
I don't mean to cut you off. Was that the Once You Goes a Black year that we found? Was that drafting to?
No,
remember
that was not that event, because that was I want to say that was a summer beer fest. I believe that was Ascension that had that.
That always sticks out in my mind. You were like, what the hell?
I did not like it, but with the name alone, just like sometimes that's what happens. You have those beer names that just catch you, and just like, you seriously made a beer called Once You Goes a Black. I was like, it's like based on principle alone, I have to get this beer. I can't not get this beer. It's going to suck right now because I don't like Gozas, but I'm drinking this shit.
Now pivot to another question here, and this is totally a loaded one. Who was your favorite brewery or guest to have on the show?
Ooh, damn. That's shit. I would have to say, I think Weathered Souls. I kind of feel like with Weathered Souls,
PB Fusion. Sorry, go ahead.
That's right. Yeah, you did. You guys went there. That's right. Yeah. You guys went there this weekend. I think I'd have to say, like, before them, I kind of felt like I knew where I was, as, like, host wise, and like where I was going with trying to, be a better interviewer myself. And Weathered Souls, when we found out that we were doing Weathered Souls, it kind of put me in this weird overdrive position where it was just like, holy shit, I really got to put some work into this. I got to put some questions into this. I need to like come up with an interview. And like, going through that episode, like, I was really happy about how that episode went. I know, unfortunately for a lot of you, that it felt like I pretty much ran that whole damn thing. I had a lot of questions, but it was just kind of, let it run. And I think as you just posted, Ken, that's episode 233 was back in August of 2020. That we had that episode, and I was really happy after that episode, and I was just like, I need to like do this all the time. That's kind of where the whole like stalking started happening, like going to their Facebook pages and Instagrams and finding all these local news articles, and even finding brewers' websites where they're talking about their dog and ask about their dog. They're just like, wait, what the fuck do you want to talk about my dog? Where'd you find that?
All right, one more question. I'm gonna let some of the other hosts get some questions into here. What is one brewer, anything beer related, you wish we would have got on the show but didn't during your time?
I feel like you already know the answer to this question.
You never know. I think I do too. We probably have the same answer, but I'm curious. It could be different.
Although I still feel like it's going to happen. I feel like you guys are going to get them on the show. But I would have loved to have done Bottle Logic and, really talk about them and their just ridiculous barrel aging program that they have that, for me, it was kind of funny that I was talking to one of my friends the other day about how I feel like getting Bottle Logic and getting it somewhat regularly, that it's kind of spoiled how I look at barrel aged beers now. And like even the ones that are here, I mean, now, Drafting Table's Mean Mallow Bean just came out last week, and it was on tap over at the Metropolitan Valley. Shout out to Ashley once again for having the first of, I think he said 3 kegs that they have out there. And I went up there and had it last week, and it was like I kept drinking it thinking, needing like the Bottle Logic level of, the flavors and I hate using the word consistency, because Mallow has been a relatively consistent beer for, the last 3 years that I've had it, including this year, that has been consistent. But Bottle Logic felt like it's now spoiled me to this point where there's like this level of expectation that I expect all other brewers to do barrel aged beers with. And when it's not there, there's like a level of disappointment. Again, Mean Mallow was a damn good beer, and it still is. And I had it this year and I enjoyed it. It just wasn't at the level that I feel like I'm starting to expect that Bottle Logic puts out. So it would have been really good to just kind of have them on and talk about barrel aging process and the ideas of where they come up with these barrel aged beers that they do. I mean, they're doing everything from porters to stouts to strong ales. And I don't get too many strong ales and barley wines. Like the strong ales and barley wines have been like my spot. And so I don't even like pecans. And they did a toasted pecan strong ale. I was like, yeah, I got to get it. But I don't care. I got to get it.
What was one of the favorite beers that you've tried because you were on the show?
Oh, favorite beers. There's oh man, there's been so damn many. No, I wouldn't say that. That's too recent. Granted, Black Tuesday from the brewery is pretty damn good. Strong as hell this year, but still pretty good. I mean, shit's clocking it at 19.5% or something like that. That's a bit high. I would probably say, and I'm a little disappointed now because I actually wasn't on this episode. Most recently when you guys had I think it was Second Self Brewing on, and they had it was like a lemon pepper IPA.
Yes.
And that
the lemon pepper sour.
Oh my God, that was so damn
good.
That was so good. I mean, I was like, I felt like I was in the summer, just sitting on the porch, just sucking barbecue sauce off my fingers, just like damn it, this is good. That's definitely been one that's been up there. I think the first time, really just in that first year, the first time we had Blow Your Face Out, that one really struck me because I think that was pretty much like one of the first like double or like triple IPAs I'd ever had, other than Two Hearted, because I've always been used to Two Hearted. Yeah, those are two that really kind of kick out right now in my head. I know there's a lot in the middle, but those are the two that I'm thinking of.
So one of my favorite memories of you is chugging during the news theme. What is the craziest beer that you chugged during the news introduction?
Oh, that has to be New Holland's Triple Mash. 17%er. It was just kind of, I remember that night of just there's always just kind of this process of going to the basement and going into, I guess for those who don't know, I live in a relatively old house. This house was built in 1936. You see the built-in shelving that I have in here. But this house has it's kind of funny. It has a nice little closet up front for how people hid their shotguns during Prohibition in case anybody wanted to show up. But there is a cold storage room in the basement, which pretty much right now is the perfect time for it. It actually served as the refrigerator when we first moved in this house for the first 2 months. I think until we didn't buy it. We moved in at the beginning of January, or no, at the end of January. We didn't get a refrigerator until like the President's Day sales started hitting. So we use it as a fridge, and right now it stays a very consistent 40 degrees, and everything down there is 100% perfect. But I would, before the show, go down there and just say, okay, what beers am I going to grab? What am I going to grab? And I think it was just that day we're just like, you know what? I want to sip on a triple mash, and that's pretty much just going to be the one beer, but I'm going to take others. And I remember just like grabbing 3 other beers, and we started the show. I left the triple mash just kind of sitting there. And then, we took the break, and I was just like, shit, I didn't break open that triple mash. Fuck it. Crack, put it in a glass, and just wait for the theme music. I said, I'm just going to do it. We'll see. We'll see where everything goes from there. Got through the news. Got through the rest of the night.
So what's the most interesting thing that you have learned on the show?
Oh, there's a lot that I've learned, because I still don't feel like I even know how to make a beer. But I feel like most interesting thing I've learned is that this beer community really fucking cares about this beer community. I remember just kind of being, kind of the rookie in craft beer, and still kind of not doing a whole lot of diversification of my craft beer drinking. It was basically Bell's Cherry Stout, the oatmeal stouts, the occasional Two Hearted, get a couple cans of Guinness, and I really wouldn't go outside of that. And getting into the podcast, it was still a time where I kind of thought that while these craft breweries are in to run a business and to make money, that they in themselves together are a community. And I really wasn't expecting that. I would like for anybody who are business owners, that I just thought it was always compete, take over take their district and get their customers and take their market share, and all you got to do is just keep getting bigger. And obviously there's these craft breweries that want to be big enough to continue to not only survive but thrive in the business, that they really they care about each other. And it's just awesome to see that there's all these people out here who just enjoy beer, and they don't just enjoy their brewery. They go to other breweries that are in the area, and they do collaborations, and they talk shop. And hell, it always seems like when these brewers move from one brewery to another, I'm not sure if it was a trade that was done or some sort of free agency market that they have, and they just go from one place to the other. And it suddenly becomes NFL speak. It's just like, all my well wishes and such to him as he goes off to the next brewery. And just everybody's just so fucking cool. Like, damn, I could just hang here with anybody and just go to any brewery and just talk to people about beer. And it's just awesome. It's just like have a group of people you can just not feel so introverted around. So that's it.
I get that completely. So I have one more question before I pass it on to Nick. What was your favorite interview moment?
Favorite interview.
Or one of them at least, because I'm sure there's many.
Favorite interview moment. Wow. I think like the first one that pops in my head is that episode with Roke way back. And I remember bringing on a bottle of Black Tuesday, and everybody's just sitting around drinking it. They're enjoying it. And I think it was John that he starts, taking a sip of it. And, now mind you, I have not even looked at this bottle to see what the ABV is at this time. This is still real early in the game for me, and I'm not necessarily paying attention to ABV. I just am paying attention to whether or not I enjoy it. And so I think it was like my first bottle of Black Tuesday that I'd ever had. And I was just like, you know what? I'm probably not gonna drink this whole damn thing. I'm gonna take it to the show. And so we had small pours, and John is drinking it, and he's like, this kind of tastes like a port. And of course, my dumb ass at the time, I'm like, what the fuck is a port? I mean, so I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll figure that out later. And he grabs the bottle and he looks at it. He says, well, no fucking wonder. This shit's 20%. And I was just like, I've had 2 of these already. How the fuck am I getting home? Like, shit, I need to stop. Of course, we end up going to Roke afterwards and having more beer, but we did have pizza, so it still leveled out. And I was all right. But that was definitely a very interesting moment. There's been some of those in those early days, and talking about the Red Wings and talking about MMA and soccer, DCFC for life, all that good shit. There goes Nick right there. Yeah.
Right there. Just saying. I know you can't. I know people can't see it if you're just listening, but that's all. Now I fucked up my camera. There we go.
You kind of did.
Oh, is this my turn now, Wendy?
Oh, yep. Sorry.
It's all good. I wanted to touch base a little bit, Rob, on your involvement with the Bruise Brothers.
All right. For the culture.
For the culture. Absolutely. Bruise Brothers, for those that aren't familiar with the Bruise Brothers, Rob, why don't you take like 30 seconds to explain what the Bruise Brothers is about? Because I feel like this show, I don't know if we should take credit, but I think that Better on Draft played a little bit of a role, and you were a key part of that.
So the Bruise Brothers and yeah, we do. I'm gonna try. We'll keep that behind the scenes. Keep that behind the scenes. But yes, we do need that.
Yeah, we do. Sorry. My bad.
Oh no, that was all good. Oh, so the Bruise Brothers and their show that consists of Harry, Wayne, Mark, and Sasha, who are basically what they are obviously they are talking about beer. They're pretty much, to an extent that we are talking about. I would say though that obviously there is a bit of a difference because they are a majority Black show, and therefore, they are also talking about a lot of the Black American experience in craft beer. Mostly in part, obviously there's, the big issue that happened of 2018, considering Charlotte Street Brewing, whom will not be named. And so, obviously they have their following as well, but I I like to be a little bit of a part of it. Obviously, the way that show started, that was between Ken and Wayne. For the most part, like getting to that point. I have just been kind of a guest star every now and then. I'm definitely not on. I would say of like all of their episodes, I may have been on maybe 2, and that's mainly
only
because
2. I feel like you've been on more.
Maybe I would say I would put it no more than 4. Mainly because they do their recordings on Wednesdays, which is the same night that I host trivia. So there's been a couple nights, one of which when we were having the discussions with the then diversity person that was at Charlotte Street at the time. Ooh, excuse me. And there's been a couple times where they've done episodes in the back at Eastern Market Brewing, and I've joined, just like joining in just as I finish trivia, just as they're finishing up. But yeah, they've got their show that still is making its rounds and going through. They have some pretty insightful conversations about beer. So it is awesome to see them still continuing as well. And they have their Facebook group as well, which a lot of like-minded people that are there sharing beers and brew stories and things like that, where it's just kind of get to be. You basically, it's a nice group that I love being in because you just get to be yourself. But it's a nice group where it's just like no assholery, no knuckle fuckery. It's just enjoy beer and don't be a dick about it. Unlike some other groups that I just couldn't get into. It's just like everybody in there. It's just the Brews Brothers always remind me of the craft beer community, in that it is a welcome space, and just don't be a dick.
Well, it would appear Nick had to run away for a second, so I guess it's back to me. I'll pass.
I'm back.
He's back. Sorry. All right, go on, Nick.
No, sorry, we had a little slight diaper emergency here at the house.
Oh, that's always an emergency.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I'm just trying to catch my breath there. I was sprinting. So, do you feel, Rob, that some progress has been made for blacks in beer? Because that's been a topic of discussion in the past. You mentioned the incident in 2018 with Charlotte Street. We've talked about it in the past. We've had guests of this show, talk about it. You mentioned Weathered Souls, which was a hell of an interview, in my opinion, hell of a guest to have on this show. Do you feel progress has been made at all? Kind of looking back on your time on this show over the last 7 years?
I would say yes. But it is definitely a very subdued and subtle yes. I mean, it's what it is. It's like, the conversations I've had in my day job about, the diversity workshops that we go through. And it basically just say, am I going to see it in my generation? No. Am my kids going to see it in their generation? No. Are their grandkids going to see it? Probably not either. But there are still going to be steps where the steps are going to be put in place, and it's going to continue to get better. There's going to be moments where things are going to feel like it's gotten worse. But when you look at the big picture and you look at everything, you will still see that it's gotten better. When I started the show, we didn't have any Black-owned craft breweries. And at least to my knowledge, I could be completely wrong. It's just like, I just did not know of any. But now we've got Arctic Circle. We've got Black Calder. There's at least 2 off the top of my head that are right there. And 734. Yeah. So there's definitely been progress, and it's still it's still a steep hill, and it's still a steep climb, because there's still a lot of Black Americans who do not enjoy or have even sometimes even tried craft beer. And it's like, I look at a lot of my relatives and how it's always been kind of drinking the same thing. It's drinking the Molson Ices and the Ice Houses and the Miller High Life. And I go back to when I was in San Francisco back in I think it was 2015, and taking, or actually goes back a little further than that, but going out there for my brother's wedding shower, and my stepdad was with us, and we were doing the bachelor party. So we did a tour of Steam Brewing, and he got to try all these different beers, and it was just kind of like, I remember him taking a first sip of a beer, and he just looked at me and said, "This is what beer's supposed to taste like?" I said, "Yeah, if you put down the damn Molson Ice every once in a while, you actually find that out." But it's kind of still looking at everyone. It's just like, I think there's a lot of, Black people who are here who either they don't know, or they just haven't tried it. And I mean, there's a lot of different factors. Craft beer is not cheap. You just creating a business and creating a craft beer business is not cheap. Getting the loans for it are not easy. And, there's still a lot of statistical data out there that makes it very difficult for someone who is of color to get those business loans. And it's hard. You have to walk in there, and you have to have that money up front. And so it's tough, because you're still sitting at the starting blocks while everybody else is 50 meters ahead, and it's hard. So I kind of get that. That's not the whole fact, everything that is the reason why. I don't see a lot of Black people that drink craft beer, but it's definitely a piece. So there's a lot of different pieces that are out there. And, do I want to see it bigger? Do I want to see a bigger market share, coming from Black Americans, people of color? Sure. Is it moving as fast as I want it to? I don't think so. But there's still steps, and I think the steps are still happening. They're just not as fast as I'd like to see it. So whenever we get there, we get there. But I'm pretty sure I'll be dead before that happens, and I'm okay with that. Just as long as we just keep seeing progress. I just want progress.
Okay. One more question. I'm gonna pass it on over to Ken. In the 7 years you've done this show, you've obviously done your homework on interviews for all of our guests. Is there a guest that you wish you had the opportunity to interview? Doesn't matter who they are, how small, how big they may be. Is there a brewery or a person in the industry that you wish you would have had the opportunity? And if so, if there is one, who and why?
I mean, well, we went through the brewery, because the brewery definitely would be Bottle Logic, just interviewing them. But a person in particular that I would want to interview, I would probably say
I think I stumped him, guys.
No, I got one, but it just feels so fucking pandering. Like I'm thinking about Papazian, because I think that would be really Charles Papazian, and interview him and just talk about the science of home brewing, and just the whole mantra of just sitting back and just drink a brew.
So for those that don't know, Charles Papazian, founder of the Association of Brewers and the GABF. For those that don't know,
I would almost and even kind of going into that home brewing nexus to even go a little bit further back and like even just talk to like President Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter.
Why Jimmy Carter?
Hey, we wouldn't it may have been a little bit longer, but without him, we wouldn't be able to be making beer at home.
Okay.
So I think there's a lot of people with all of these homebrewers associations that, you know, obviously it was a long time ago, but to just kind of be like, you know, what was the advocacy like back then? Mm-hmm. And, you know, what went into your thinking and thinking that this was something that was truly needed for people to be able to do. I mean,
yeah,
and be able to do it at home. So, you know, that would be, I don't know, there'd be a lot of just, I'd love to hear the information and everything that kind of went behind the scenes about it. So
for those keeping score, in 1979 is when he deregulated the industry or helped deregulate the industry to where we are. I don't even know how many breweries we're at today. Ken, you probably have the number on hand. I'm going to turn it over to you, but you probably know how many breweries are in the country right now.
So we've got probably in 3 months, 2 to 3 months will be the annual numbers magazine of the Brewers Association, the New Brewer, which will get a little bit more information on it. Obviously, it is a best guess. It's not necessarily the entire thing because we've seen on the actual magazine itself, it does miss closings and openings. We, as Better on Draft, spend a lot of time just focusing on Michigan, and it's still hard to know when a brewery is closing or when a brewery is opening. But as we kind of roll to the end of this episode, we still will have a news episode this week, which Rob will join us as a co-host on that episode. So we appreciate you, Rob, taking the time out of your day to join us for, both episodes today. Most guests don't normally take part in it. But Rob, I guess my question to you, before we get into our final questions, for those who have paid attention to Better on Draft, who have followed Better on Draft, what is something you would like to hope you left the listeners with? A theory, a mindset, a thought process when approaching beer breweries or the community itself? What is something that you wish you hope that you instilled on them as you are on our show?
I would like to hope that I've instilled, I guess, a feeling that, while making beer is just straight up alchemy, and one may never figure out how the hell anybody figured out how to do this shit 5,000 years ago, that making it is a crazy and it's a fun process. And for those of you who are out there that have gone through the frustrations of making a shit beer, keep making beer, because there's always going to be mess ups, and eventually you'll get it to where you love it. But drinking beer is fun and easy, and it's not about doing things serious and just enjoying yourself, and just kind of hoping that I kind of gave a perspective of being one who doesn't know what the fuck he's doing about beer, and tries to at least sound semi-intelligent when I'm drinking beer and trying to describe it, as I'm certainly no expert, but that you don't have to be an expert. You just have to enjoy good beer, and just hope that being on here has helped, the minority communities to basically look and see that, this isn't just a white bearded thing. That there are other people from other lifestyles and beginnings and races and countries where we all enjoy this. Obviously, except for the people who don't drink at all, but those who do drink beer tend to enjoy it. So that's just, I think that's just kind of what I hope, that people just kind of see another perspective of craft beer, and I guess just understand that everybody's different, and that's okay.
All right, well, that's going to do it for episode 311. We've got our final questions. I'm going to bring it back to Dan to start us off. Dan, what is your final question for Robear?
All right, Rob, this is kind of a weird question, but let's see where you go with it.
All
What's
right.
something you wish you would have done during the time of the show that you haven't, whether it be, talk about something on a specific episode, attended an event you didn't? What's one regret you have that you didn't do?
I wish that, and this actually, now that I'm kind of thinking about it, it's kind of goes into, another a person I would have wanted to interview, would be, oh Jesus, now I'm just like completely drawing a blank on her name. Oh, for God's sakes! I believe that is one of her nicknames being Dr. J. J. Nichols Beckham, I think is what her name is. I'm sorry if I'm completely butchering your name right now. Nicole Jackson Beckham, yes. The director of equity and inclusion with the Brewers Association. I think that would have been really, really cool and awesome to have her on the show. I do wish that, like we did, like some more. I know we already did like maybe 3 or 4 it already, but just doing some more collaborative Brews Brothers episodes, especially live. I miss doing those live and having those. So yeah, I think I've said it with that there.
Wendy.
Uh-oh.
I'm sorry. I had something in my head and then I was not expecting to be next. So what is your whale right now? All of us have a whale that we just want to try. What's your whale right now?
Oh my goodness. I mean, I had one and then I had it. And then I had another one, and then I had that one like 2 weeks later. So the first whale, the first whale that I had was Side Project's Beer Barrel Time, BBT, for most of the secondary commission. I had that one, and then I had Toppling Goliath's Assassin, and that one came off the list. So like I don't have much of a list anymore, because like I had both of those, and then suddenly I end up having them in bottle share. So it's like those are just gone. I would say
bottle shares.
they're exclusive. That they something about skulls or something. I'm not going to get into that. I would say actually probably my whale right now, even though it's obviously it's probably not much of a whale anymore. Well, I mean, I don't even know if it was really much of a whale at any point. But from St. Archer Brewing, out in I think they're in San Diego. There was at one point, and honestly, I'm not even sure if they still even function. But one of my in-laws has a son out in California, And so she told him about how I like craft beer. So he basically made this care package and shipped it off, and it ended up coming here. And there was a barrel aged beer from St. Archer that was like one of the most amazing barrel aged beers I've ever had. And I've yet to be able to get it again. I remember just like trying to look for it for the better part of the last 5 years. Cannot find it. So I think that's pretty much my whale right now, because I would love to have some of that. I think it was called Tuscan Grain was there with their series of barrel aged beers, and I would fucking kill for that beer again.
Nick, what's your final question for Rob?
I get to finally ask this frickin' question.
Uh-oh.
Robear,
Yeah.
what is your guilty pleasure?
Oh, Honey Brown all fucking day.
That's not a guilty pleasure. That's not a guilty pleasure at all.
Why not? Who drinks Honey Brown anymore?
Is that even still a thing? Can you get Honey Brown anywhere?
I certainly could try. Probably not.
I'm gonna find out right now.
My guilty pleasure. The thing is, I've just been so damn spoiled. Like, it's tough to have guilty pleasures when, like, you have all these breweries who are sending beer to you that you don't have to buy any beer.
Mm-hmm.
And, when you do go to buy beer, you're buying the beer that you really want, that you're not sitting there buying a 12 pack of Ice House because you're desperate and you only got $5 on you.
No, Nick buys it to punish himself.
Yeah, there you go.
That he does. So, like, I mean, pretty much the funny thing is, like guilty pleasure is Bud Light. Like,
Okay, all right.
it's just like one of those just run of the mill. I remember, living in Royal Oak, and I used to participate in a softball league. Shout out and rest in peace to Softball City, which is now an Amazon warehouse at Woodward and 8 Mile.
Mm-hmm.
And we were sponsored by Ye Old Saloon right there on Main Street. And we would show up and they would give us pictures of Bud Light. And I just, even though I didn't necessarily enjoy it, I just remember just like every time we went there, we always got Bud Light. I never really looked at anything else, and just like, well, this is what we drink. So yeah, you give me a Bud Light, hey, I'll take it. You give me a PBR, I might shake your hand, because I'll take a beer flavored beer. I'm all right with PBR.
You don't complain about free beer.
Yeah,
No,
and,
absolutely not.
And I'll bring some Honey Brown down to Detroit there, Rob. They do sell it at Total Wine up by me. So.
Hell yeah.
So I'll ship a 6-pack down for you since you don't come up north of 14 Mile.
That used to be my password for everything. Like, it literally was like Honey Brown 1.
All right, my final question for you is very simple. Rob, what's next? Where are we going to see you?
So I'm working on a couple ideas. My brother has approached me with doing a movie-related podcast. And so it's somewhat intrigued me, and trying to kind of come up with ideas and going through outlines and things like that. We've been kind of storming away a little bit in the past few days to kind of iron some things out and come up with a show name and whatnot. Everything is still kind of tentative in the air. So working on that. I am in the midst of doing some voiceover training. So I am working at trying to become a voiceover artist of some sort. So there's some work to be done there. So maybe you might hear me in some commercials. I don't know. And yeah, and there's another show idea that Dina has come up with, my wife Dina, which she has already attached herself as executive producer for, and in doing a podcast where we basically demystify the stereotypes behind what culture, what Black culture is, and what Black people do as opposed to what they don't, and looking at it from a lens of being someone who has grown up in predominantly white neighborhoods, that there's a lot of things that I do that a lot of Black people don't see as being things that Black people do. So the mission is to kind of create some sort of show where I can talk about these things and talk about how just because of these things that I do that you don't doesn't make me any less Black. So kind of where that is kind of going. We're trying to iron that out as well, but it is definitely keeping me busy. And then other than that, just being a father to three great girls who are just growing up. One is going to be graduating high school this year, the other becoming a junior, and the other one becoming a freshman in high school. And it's just becoming very exciting to just to watch these three just grow up and really see them have the life that they didn't have before coming into our house, and not necessarily the life that I had as a teenager, and just seeing the differences and just watching them. It's just crazy. It's fun. So challenges of being a dad of three teenage daughters. I mean, that keeps me busy enough right there.
That's going to do it for episode 311 of the Better on Draft podcast. No matter what you think of your beer, we think it's Better on Draft. Have a good night.
I still say peace. Peace.